Welcome to the video. Last night I was watching Rob Walker do the summer vinyl tag, the tag that was set by Martin the Martian Vinyl, maybe 3 weeks ago, something like that. And I remember watching Martin's video and I thought, I'm going to have a go at the summer vinyl tag. But I've not been very prolific recently. I've been too busy doing other stuff. But I thought, well, after watching Rob last night, basically state that doing the summer vinyl tag is just simply a great way of sharing good records or great records with everybody else who's interested in collecting vinyl. So I thought that's a good enough reason to do it. I've got a pile of records here that I'm going to share, which I think all of them are great records to varying degrees. And so I'm going to kind of get started. So Martin set, he set 15 questions. I'm not sure whether 15 is the standard these days. Excuse me, but it is what it is. And he's got some strange kind of questions here. But I think they're pretty good. So the first one is your most recent heater. I'm not down with the kids, so I don't know what is a heater. I'm guessing it's an album that you are playing a lot. It's kind of hot on the turntable right now. So what have I selected for this one? I've selected a double album compilation that I picked up in Toronto last month. And it is by the band Grand Funk Railroad. And it's called Mark, Don and Mel. And this is a compilation of... There's the inside cover. It's a compilation of early material from 1969 and 1970. So I think it includes a couple of tracks from the famous Red album. But I've kind of been on the lookout for Grand Funk Railroad albums for a while, because I remember back in the early 70s, a friend of mine lent me the famous Red album. And it's been nagging me for such a long time that I haven't got a copy of that other than on CD. And every now and again I'll go back to that CD and I think, well, actually, this band is a bit more interesting. It's hard, it's bluesy, but it's also got this soul kind of vibe in it as well, which I've kind of read somewhere that they were they'd be mixed in with Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, but they're much more soulful than those bands. So I've been on the lookout, and when I was in North America, I thought, well, I'm going to buy a couple of Grand Funk albums if I could find them, and I did. So this is the one, is my heater. So that's question number one in the summer vinyl tag. Now, number two is a record that will melt your face off. This wasn't difficult, by the way, but does anybody remember watching this series, Twin Peaks, a limited event series, kind of series 3? This is a thing that was put together by David Lynch, God, was it 15 or 20 years after series 1 and series 2 of Twin Peaks? If you did watch this, you'll recall that it was incredibly dark. It had a fantastic dark soundtrack. It's a brilliant series. It's really perplexing at times. You're sitting through like 45, 50 minutes for an episode and you're thinking, what the hell was that all about? But it was, I absolutely love it. I love Lynch and Twin Peaks. But anyway, I was just listening to this album for the first time in ages just the other day. And I thought this is kind of a perfect example of an album that could have been the soundtrack to that series. And it will melt your face off. And it's Scott Walker and The Drift. Now this is such a strange and weird album, because people who know Scott Walker think of the 1960s Scott Walker, all that kind of that rich baritone, kind of a semi-crooning sort of voice, big orchestrations around him much of the time, and of course the Walker Brothers as well. But of course he came back after the album, was it late 80s, Climate of Hunter, and then he did Tilt, I think, and then The Drift. and then is it Bish Bosh, which I haven't got, that came after this one. But this is kind of a really kind of famous album, not least because the critics always drew attention to the fact that on the second track, which is called Clara, there's actually the carcass of a dead pig that is beaten as part of as a component within the percussion layout on the track. But this is kind of, imagine, I mean, Scott Walker, and this is 2007, I think it is. I think I've written it. Have I written this down? Yeah, 2006, in fact. But it's kind of, it's ultra dark. Great soundscapes, really interesting. Actually, I haven't played this for years, but I did really enjoy it when I played it. And his vocals reminded me of the Associates' Billy Mackenzie, but just a little bit deeper and a little bit darker. There's lots of weird percussion on this album, not just a dead pig, but it's really interesting. But you wouldn't drive to this, and this is probably the least likely dinner party album you're ever likely to put on. But anyway, that will melt your face off. Number 3, a Cheap Heat record. This one is by an artist that I was buying albums of on CD in the 90s, I think it was. Couldn't get away with it. Kind of a singer-songwriter, but with a band, like a trio, playing piano's the dominant instrument. But I picked this up for £11, and I think within another couple of months, I went back to the same record shop and completely forgot that I'd bought it and was in my pile, and I bought a second copy for £11. And this is So There by Ben Folds. Kind of two types of music on this. It's got the kind of pop. It's kind of adult pop. I think some people describe it as kind of baroque pop. It's, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Eleanor Rigby style of the Beatles. There's a lot of Beatles influence in this. The tempos keep changing. The melodies are to die for. He's a very, very good songwriter, and this really rekindled my interest in Ben Folds. This is a really interesting album, not just because it was cheap and I bought it twice, but because it's also got a one-sided 3-part concerto for piano and orchestra, which sounds like a Steven Spielberg, John Williams soundtrack. But it's really interesting. It does some really interesting things with the piano in it. It's very, very good. But the pop tracks on side 1 and side 2, the first disc of this album, are gorgeous. What a great pop songwriter. So yeah, I'm on the lookout for more Ben Folds. Right, this remember, this is the Summer Vinyl tag. And Martin set this one here. He says, a 2-piece swimsuit show record with only 2 members in the band. Now, I can't quite remember whether Martin said it's 2 members of the band on the cover or just a duo. So I've got 2 examples here. The first one is the most famous, it's got to be the most famous 2-person only on the album cover album ever, and that is the immortal Born to Run with Bruce and Clarence Clemens. Of course, not much needs to be said about that, but it's an absolutely fantastic album and 2 absolute legends of rock music on the cover. So that's Bruce and Clarence, but there's also this album by the Future Sound of London, and it's number 1 in the series Environments. Now this, I think, was about 10, 12 years after the previous album called Dead Cities. And they were around in the 1990s mainly as a kind of a trancey, ambient kind of band. It's a duo. And the guys' names are, which I've no idea kind of really who they are, but Brian Duggins and Gaz Cobain. So fans will know much more about that duo. I think they're also involved in Amorphous Androgynous. But anyway, I've been hoovering up Future Sound of London albums for quite some time now in this Environment series, and it's kind of more experimental. This particular version here has got this particular edition, number 1 in the series. There's about 7 or 8, I think. Has simply one piece of music on side 1 and another on side 2. But on the subsequent releases, there are multiple tracks, but they kind of all bleed into each other. Some really strange sounds, a little bit of dance vibe every now and again, but it's mostly reminiscent of Tangerine Dream, but with some kind of out there and surprising sound effects. But really, really great. So that's the future sound of London. Go seek them out. Right. Hope I'm making good progress here. Your summer road trip soundtrack. Oh, well, this is one that I used to play in the car a lot during the 80s and the 90s, and it's possibly the one album that's kind of a rock pop album that is just perfect soundtrack, and that is Reckless by Bryan Adams. Like a greatest hits, but of course it isn't, and I always think of the transition. So side 2 opens with Summer 69, just a fantastic classic track. And then The Kids Wanna Rock, and the transition from that into It's Only Love with Tina Turner is just great. It's just that gap between the track is just kind of shortened a bit, and it's just bang, It's Only Love comes in. But that's a great driving soundtrack. That's a road trip album. Best one. Number 6, your most recent car boot or yard sale find. Well, I don't buy records from car boot sales anymore. The payoff's just not worth it. I can't be bothered to get up in the early morning to kind of fight it over with a whole bunch of flippers in the middle of a field. And I think the condition of the albums is so unreliable. I prefer a good record shop or a record fair where whatever goes in the bins is kind of being curated. It's been checked for quality before I spend my time crawling through them all. So yeah, I don't buy any from car boot sales. Number 7, Here Comes the Sun, show a record with the sun on the cover. I've got 2 versions of this. It's the same kind of album. This is a 10-inch, and it's by the band Pure Reason Revolution, and it's called Cautionary Tales for the Brave. And the second version has the rays of the sun on the outside, but on this one here, it's on the inner cover. And this is kind of a bit of a mini album. It's dominated by the track The Bright Ambassadors of Morning, which, if you recall, is a lyric from Pink Floyd's Echoes. But this is a bit Pink Floydy, but really it's also kind of grungy as well. It's got some really crunching guitars. And I think it's just a bit too proggy for kind of grunge fans and a bit too grungy for prog fans. So I think this band played a little bit with more of grunge stroke metal in subsequent releases. I think this was 2005. This came out before the first album as a bit of a stopgap, I think it was. But it's interesting. It's kind of that indie, grungy, proggy, and that track I mentioned there, The Bright Ambassadors, it's about 10 minutes or something. But the other ones are kind of shorter. So that is an album with representation of the sun on the cover. And that's just, the sun is out of shot, but the rays are there. Right, Campfire album, short and acoustic album. Well, this is an absolute masterful British folk album from 2007, Martin Simpson and Prodigal Son. A beautiful release. It didn't come out on vinyl when it was first released. This was one that I think it's probably almost impossible to find now. But this is fantastic. Now, Martin Simpson, he's from Scunthorpe in Lincolnshire, but he lives in Sheffield in South Yorkshire. He is a traditionalist, but he's also a folk singer who lived in New Orleans for several years and has picked up a lot of that blues style. And that he even does a version of Louisiana 1927 by Randy Newman. Randy Newman's song on this particular album. It's beautifully recorded. It's a fantastic folk album. He's got a lovely kind of rich voice, but his guitar picking is tremendous, absolutely tremendous. If you're in the UK and you like folk music, this album is essential. So there you go. That's what I would play around my campfire. Right. In the summer of 69. Is that a reference to Bryan Adams again. Shaw record released in 1969. Well, there's only one for me, and it's Abbey. No, it's not. It's In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. An absolute genre-defining album. It's kind of got the quiet on here with Cadence and Cascade. No, it's not Cadence and Cascade. It's I Talk to the Wind, excuse me. But it's got the grandeur of In the Court of the Crimson King and Epitaph, but it's got the aggression of 21st century Schizoid Man. Absolute masterpiece of an album. So that's from 1969, my favourite. The Perfect Summer Bod. Remember, this is a vinyl tag here, a bod. Shaw record that is perfect from start to finish. Well, I've got two and a bit. The first one is the original soundtrack by 10cc. It's got the magnificent suite at the beginning, One Night in Paris, but it also has I'm Not in Love. It's got the second sitting of The Last Supper, Life as a Minestrone, and other really good tracks. It's a great album from start to finish. I think it's their first album for Polygram. Is it Polygram? Yeah. Phonogram. After they left... Was it? No, it's not Rack. It's the other one. Doesn't matter. The original stuff. But that's a great album. But also another perfect album from start to finish is by the English kind of prog band of the last 20 years. And I have shown this before on one or two of my 300 videos. And that is English Electric, Big Train. This is part 1. This is part 2. These will be pretty hard to get a hold of now, I would think. But they did this. This might be hard to get to. And this is why they put them both together in this absolutely gorgeous CD set called English Electric Full Power. And all the lyrics and pictures in here. Really, really magnificent album. This is a perfect album from start to finish. 2 CDs. Not a bad moment or a bad song on this album. Fantastic. Getting close, number 11 now. Summer of Love. What record are you in love with at the moment? Well, I'm rediscovering this album because I bought a new pressing of it because the final track, When an Old Cricketer Leaves the Crease, has got the Black Dyke Mills brass band on it, and you need a really pristine copy to really enjoy it. But this is HQ by Roy Harper. Roy Harper, who sang Have a Cigar on Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here. This is the reissue. But it's got... You know I'm going to have to make shorter videos because that's the second time in a row that I've made a video where the camera was on so long it overheated and it stopped recording. So anyway, I'm kind of coming towards the end of this, so I put a new battery in. Hopefully it'll be a bit cooler, long enough for me to finish this video. I was talking about Roy Harper's HQ. I was talking about the game that opens it, parts 1 and parts 5. But really, this album is really only about one track. The absolutely gorgeous When an Old Cricketer Leaves the Crease. It's got a bit of a who's who of artists on here. We've got Chris Spedding, Bill Bruford on drums, Dave Gilmour, John Paul Jones, David Bedford, and then in the Grimethorpe Colliery Band. Did I say it was Black Dyke Mills? No, it's the Grimethorpe Colliery Band. Colliery is like coal mining, of course. Right. Summer of Love, recommended on the channel. Well, when I went to America and met a whole bunch of people there at MGK Boston's big summer bash and vinyl community get together, I found that I subscribed to everybody there, but I just wasn't seeing the videos. That weren't coming up in my feed. But of course, I went searching out the videos during and after my trip, and one guy in particular that I think is really, really funny. But you wouldn't think it when you first meet him because he's kind of really dry and kind of unassuming. But that is Jeff Whitcher's Vinyl Destination. I'll put a link to Jeff's channel down here. He does this great videos, and he calls them as a song title, and he called The Movie. So he's got a great one, Hey Joe, The Movie. And it's only about a minute long, but it's just absolutely the best. Anyway, so I've been watching lots of Jeff's videos over recent, well, since I came back, in fact. All right. Okay. Number 13 of 15, Summer of Love. Again, recommended album you think everyone will enjoy. Well, I don't think there's such a thing. Everyone's taste is different, and we each bring our preferences and prejudices to our choices. So I'm not going to presume that everyone's going to enjoy this album or that. Number 14, we're all going on a summer's holiday. Show record you grabbed whilst on holiday. This is an album I bought on my first overseas holiday in 1978 to Tenerife, and I thought it was, oh, this is quite rare. I haven't seen this before, and it is Grandes Éxitos by ABBA, which I think is Greatest Hits because the track listing is just the Greatest Hits album, and the UK release has that picture on the cover. But that's a neat cover. I've had that since 1978. It's mint, beautiful. It's got all the great tracks on here. Got Fernando, Mamma Mia, Dance While the Music Still Goes, Waterloo, don't like Waterloo, but it's got the brilliant SOS, Ring Ring, blah blah. What a great album. Great album. And the most overshadowed album, presumably you're lying on a sunbed and someone walks there and puts you in the shade. I think that might be the reference here, but the most overshadowed album. Two albums immediately come to mind whenever this question comes up, and that is The Second Coming by the Stone Roses, completely overshadowed by the debut, even though it's a brilliant album. Don't have it on vinyl, unfortunately. And this one, for similar reasons, and this is Liverpool by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. The double was so overwhelmingly good. This had no chance. And I don't think Trevor Horn's involved in this one. No, it's not. He's not. It's produced by Stephen Lipson. Oh, executive producer Trevor Horn. So he still kind of had a bit of a watching brief on it. The tracks aren't as great, but ones that are kind of really upbeat. Watching the Wildlife, Warriors of the Wasteland, Rage Hard. But some more kind of deep cuts here, which are really good. Maximum Joy, Lunar Bay, For Heaven's Sake, and The Gorgeous. Is Anybody Out There? Just kind of like the Power of Love type equivalent on this album. That is still a really, really good album. So that is the summer vinyl tag. Great, I've done it, and the camera's still rolling. So I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. See you soon.